All right, guys, welcome back. Here we are to break down UFC Fight Night 172. That is also UFC Fight Island 2. That is also Calvin Kattar versus Dan Ige. What a great main event. We just seen what Dan Ige was able to do in his last fight. He put on a hell of a show against Edson Barbosa. A lot of people give him a lot of slack for that fight and say that he did not win that fight. In my opinion, he did win that fight. He was able to do a lot more than I expected him to do against Barbosa. We'll get into that a little later. But, I want to ask you this real quick. With this Calvin Kattar fight going up against Dan Ige, where do you think this propels these two gentlemen in that flyweight division, or the featherweight division? Sorry.
I'm actually not sure about the outcome of this fight. Like, I don't know what the winner will have. Definitely not a title fight.
Yeah, but it definitely puts him right there in that top 5, I think.
Yeah, I agree with you, but I think that it's a slow move on the ladder. That's what I think, but I'm not sure.
Especially in that featherweight division too.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's not easy. It's not easy to move up in this division.
No, not at all. Now let's just jump right into these fights. Jorge Gonzalez is stepping in on short notice to take on Kenneth Berg. Obviously, the newcomer, Jorge, we don't know a whole lot about. Kenneth Berg is off the Contender Series. He is 8-0. So, big things coming for these light heavyweights. We just seen Jerry Provoff earlier last night just completely dismantle, Volkan Oezdemir. Here we have another light heavyweight stepping in. Light heavyweight division, like I've said before, is slowly becoming a very stacked division.
Yeah, I agree with you. And like I always say, you start with the big guys. You can't go wrong. You start with the light heavyweight. People will get excited. We might see a finish. Yeah, excited about this fight. Keenan is undefeated. He had a no contest, but this might be a very interesting matchup.
Yes, Jake Shore is taking on Aaron Phillips in the bantamweight division. Phillips has a 70-inch reach to where Jack Shore has a 71-inch reach. Not a whole lot difference there in the numbers. Obviously, in my opinion, I think Jake Shore is the better fighter. He's 12-0, completely undefeated. But, I mean, these guys out of the Welsh have just been dynamites in the UFC.
Yeah, Jake Shore, 25, still undefeated. Listen, a win... Fight Island, that everybody's watching. It's a win in Fight Island will be huge for him.
Yes, for sure. In that women's flyweight division, Diana Belbita, 13-5, is taking on Lilian Jojua. Belbita has a 6-inch reach advantage. The 24-year-old is 3 inches taller as well. 5'6" is a pretty big frame for a flyweight. Do you think that she'll be able to use that 68-inch reach advantage to her advantage?
Well, I hope so, because if she can't, that will be a long night for her, because those fighters with the reach advantage that can't actually use it, that they're going to lose. So she should be using it, and I hope that she does.
No, for sure. Jared Flash Gordon is going in there against Chris Fishgold in the featherweight division. What do you have coming out for these two gentlemen?
Well, first of all, Fishgold is a name. You'd think that it wouldn't be a name, but it is a name. Yeah, so anyhow,
seems like it's two names.
Exactly, or a nickname. But this look actually like a good fight. I think that this will be a type of brawl fight, two guys just going at it. That's what I think. I think this will be a very interesting matchup. Now, if I have to go with the winner, I may say Jared. I think that Jared is some sort of better fighter.
Jared Flash Gordon is one of 3 in his last couple of fights, to where Fishgold lost obviously to Marcani, but he beat Daniel Timmer in his UFC debut. Splitting his 2 UFC fights is interesting to see what Flash Gordon is going to do. I don't like Flash Gordon with his back against the wall. That is a very dangerous man. Chris Fishgold needs to understand that going in on to this fight on Wednesday night, that obviously he's fighting for somebody who might be fighting for his job.
Yeah.
In the light heavyweight division, Moduska Bukas, whatever the hell his last name is fighting Andreas Micheladas, or whatever his last name is. I don't even really know anything about either one of these two gentlemen. I'm sorry, I know we suck.
Well, let's discover them. I don't think that a lot of people actually know them.
They're both making their UFC debut, are they not?
They actually are doing, I think.
Yes,
Yeah.
I believe they're both making their UFC debuts here on Wednesday night. Now, this is a Wednesday card, guys. Do not get that mixed up.
Yeah.
It is not a Saturday card. That's obviously why we're doing it so early. It's a Wednesday card, so keep your eye out for that one. Now,
just
Ricardo,
just for an information, even Google, they don't have the reach, like. So
Yeah,
I just want to say
nothing.
we are not. Yeah, we don't have any information about these two fighters.
Now, Ricardo Ramos is 14-2. We've had him on this show before. He is taking on Leron Murphy, 8-0-1. The 24-year-old Ricardo Ramos is a very, very good featherweight. I feel like he is well-dimensional. He has been able to prove in his UFC or in his UFC career that he could beat you by a submission, and he could, take the fight to you by huge TKO knockout if he has to. I mean, he beat Saeed Nurmagomedov cleanly, and then obviously what he was able to do in his last fight, getting a very, very nice submission. I think it's going to be a long night for Leron Murphy, and I really think Ricardo Ramos is going to make himself look very, very good. 24 years old, and I think the sky is the limit for this young man.
Yeah, Ricardo is a very interesting fighter. I really enjoy watching him fight. But this Leron Murphy, man, this guy is no joke.
He's no joke, for sure.
Yeah.
He's never lost before in his professional career.
So this is a very good challenge for both fighters.
Yeah, it's a very game matchup for Ricardo Ramos.
Yeah.
Now, sir, I want to talk to you about this next fight because I know that you're a big fan of Khamzat whatever the hell his last name is.
Khamzat Chimaev.
6-0. You and I have talked about him before. This is his UFC debut, correct?
I think so, yeah.
I believe so. John Phillips, 22-9. He came off the Contender Series, if I'm not correct. He's 35 years old. This would be an interesting fight. You know what? That is not the same guy that I'm thinking of. He competed in the Ultimate Fighter. No, where have I seen this guy before? How many UFC fights does John Phillips have?
No, I'm not sure, man. But what I'm sure
he's got
about...
Okay. Yeah, he lost to Kevin Holland. That's what I remember. Yeah. Now it's all making more sense. Okay. I don't know too much about these two guys. I'm going to go with Khamzat, obviously 6-0, 26 years old, fast rising middleweight. We just need more and more of those.
I really think that the UFC are just putting John Phillips, to lose. That's what they wish. I think they want a 7-0 Khamzat Chimaev at the end of this fight, this night.
Yeah, no, 100%. That pretty much wraps it up for the preliminary portion of this card. Now, I know not a whole lot of big, great names, and we talked about Ricardo Ramos there for a second, but I still feel like these are all great fights you need to tune into. There's a reason why these guys are being showcased here on Fight Island. There's a reason why they're being showcased on this card. They're not just being thrown on there just to be thrown out there. These are top of the level talent, and we could be seeing the next Conor McGregor or the next star in the UFC very easily.
Yeah, and it's a chance for those international fighters to actually fight because of this pandemic. Like those international, ask Leon Edwards, who was supposed to fight Gilbert Burns, and so this is at least
he's really made the most of his opportunities in this pandemic out of really any fighter.
Yeah, Gilbert, nobody did it better than him.
Yes, 100%. Now, in the main card, Abdul Razik Al Hassan is returning from a long layoff over some legal issues. We're not going to get into it on the show. Obviously, you can look it up on your own time. You can
Yeah.
form your own opinion about that. But he is going to be taking on a newcomer, Morner Laziz.
Munir loves this.
Now, he is 9-1. This is UFC debut. Obviously, we know what Abdul Razak Al Hassan brings to the table. I mean, the guy has great power in both of his hands. I mean, you've
Yeah.
seen what he was able to do against Nico Price. He did it against Sabah Mahazi. Now, is he able to do it 3 in a row? This has been a long layoff for him. I don't know what shape he's in. I don't know what he's been up to. But everything that I know about this guy is he is super game and is always ready to go.
Well, I agree with you, and this is a pretty interesting. I think Munir Laziz is a Tunisian fighter, his nationality. So
Not even is he Tunisian, he's very tenacious.
yeah, and those are my neighbors when it comes to country-wise. But yeah, it's a pretty interesting matchup because, like you said, Abdul, it was a long layoff for him. We don't know what he looked like actually right now. This Munir Laziz fighter, we don't actually really know him. First fight in the UFC, so yeah, very intriguing.
Yes, 100%. Now, in the women's flyweight division, Molly Meatball McCann is taking on Talia Santos. Talia Santos, this is going to be her second UFC fight. Obviously, Molly McCann has pretty much, I feel like, been in the UFC most of her career at this point. I mean, what is she? This is like her fourth, fifth fight in their UFC. No, it's more than that, right?
Maybe even
And how
more.
long has she been here in the UFC? Let's check this out real quick. Meatball has been in the UFC for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This would be her fifth fight. So
Yeah.
really, I mean, especially when you look at some of these other girls, she doesn't bring a whole lot of experience into the UFC. She was
Yeah.
lost to Jillian Roberts, but she is very game, and I feel like she could be somebody who could make a name for herself. She's got great grappling, and I really feel like that could be the emphasis of this victory today. Taliana Santos, though, is no slouch on the ground herself. I believe she's a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, this is like a Molly Meatball, man. McCann been, I don't know, it's a name. I don't know why I think that I've been hearing a lot since she joined in the UFC. I don't know, maybe it's just the nickname or something. But don't get me wrong, she's a very good fighter, and this fight is pretty interesting. Like this, I think this is high level female fight.
Yeah, 100%, especially with this women's flyweight division. I know that
Yeah.
Valentina Shevchenko is the queen, and she pretty much rules that with an iron fist. But that doesn't mean the rest of these contenders can't figure it out between them.
Yeah.
But like we talked about with Khabib Nurmagomedov, and we talked about, Kamaru Usman, these people like Valentina Shevchenko, it's really hard for these challengers to get up and overthrow them. It's really going to take a special person in that women's flyweight division, and you never know, one of these two women might definitely be it.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Now, going up to the Coco main event, then the featherweight division, we have Jimmy Rivera taking on Cody Stamann. What a great fight. Cody Stamann obviously had an emotional victory a couple weeks ago after his, I believe, brother passed away. He just let it all out, an outpour of emotions. Now here we go against a very game Jimmy Rivera. You know what Jimmy Rivera brings to the table. He had a huge winning streak up until he lost about 2 years ago to Marlon Moraes. But since then, he has lost to guys like Aljamain Sterling, Petr Yan, and he beat a very game John Dodson. Take away those two losses to Yan and Sterling, okay? Obviously, those two guys, as we talked about in our last show, are the next two who should be running it for the title.
Exactly.
Jimmy Rivera is a very good fighter, and I really feel like this is the name that is going to propel Cody Stamann into the top 10. You've seen what he was able to do against Brian Keller. He demolished him for 3 rounds. He obviously got a draw against Song Yadong, got the decision victory against Perez. His only big loss in his UFC career is to Aljamain Sterling.
Yeah. You know what? It's funny how Jimmy Rivera, when he was on that winning streak, nobody wanted to fight him. He couldn't fight any fight. Now that he lost, like he's never been more active than when he lost, I feel like, which is funny, and very kind of sad also in the same way because you
It's
think
like
that, oh,
everyone's figured out the fucking formula. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah, where were you when I was killing people? Like now that I'm not in my best, like everybody wants to fight me. But either way, Jimmy Rivera is still a very dangerous fighter. If I have to pick a winner, I will go with Cody actually in this fight.
I'm gonna have to agree with you on that. I think Cody Stamen, like I
Yeah.
said, is going to launch his name off of Jimmy Rivera, like other fighters Petr Yan have done before. In the next fight, the flyweight division, Tim Elliott is taking on Ryan Bennett. Ryan Bennett is no slouch for Tim Elliott. Obviously, Ryan Bennett has 1-1 in his last couple of fights, but he's beaten guys like Sergio Pettis. Tim
Yeah.
Elliott, though, is one of the guys who you could never, I mean, take
Never.
anything away from him. Obviously, he lost his last fight against Brandon Royval in a
When
very
was it?
quick submission. That was May 30th, when Woodley fought Burns, same fight card.
Yeah.
And
I feel
then
like it was last week.
he lost to Askar Askarov at UFC 246. So he's really, since this pandemic's been going on,
Yeah.
just been fighting and fighting and fighting and fighting and fighting and fighting and fighting. The only problem is he hasn't seen the winner's circle since December of 2017.
Yeah, which is
He
not
lost against Davison Figueiredo in 2008 or 2019, and he's lost both of his two fights in 2020. Do you think that Timmy Elliott is maybe just biting off a little too much that he could chew, and just at this point just taking fights just to take fights, just to stay active?
maybe he's also losing to top contenders, so it's hard to say. He's
Yeah,
not losing against an easy matchup. This fight, I would go for Tim Elliott because I feel like this is the type of matchup that he may win. This is his kind of fights.
yeah, for sure. You never know. I mean, obviously, Ryan Bennett, his record does not speak volumes of what he's able to do. They're in this
Exactly.
co-main event spot because Pedro Munoz and Frankie Edgar had to drop out because of a
Yeah.
positive coronavirus test, I believe, from Perez or one of his people. Now, I believe that fight has been rescheduled, if I'm not correct. They announced that last night, and they had talked about it being on that same DC card. Sean O'Malley and Chico Vera are also on that
Mm,
card. I'm very excited about that Sean O'Malley fight. I really feel like he is the
yeah.
future of that bantamweight division. You and I have talked about it plenty of times. I think I expressed interest on him fighting Chito Vera on this show. I really thought
Yeah.
it was the smartest decision that UFC could go with, and you're not really putting him up against opponents that he's not quite ready for. I mean, not skill wise, but just experience wise.
They're not rushing it. They're not like throwing him to the deep water too soon, and which is great.
Yeah, for sure. In the main event, we have a world class fight. Calvin Kattar is taking on Dan Ige. Obviously, Calvin Kattar has beaten the who's who of this division. We talked about Andre Touchy Philly, Ricardo Lamas, Jeremy Stevens. He's only lost to top ranked talent in this division.
Yeah.
Zabit Magomed Sharipov, Honoto Makano. Here we go against Dan Ige, somebody like we talked about earlier, just got off a great win against Barbosa, in my opinion. And now let's see what he could do against Calvin Kattar. If he's able to take the power that he brought in to that Barbosa fight and put it on Kattar, I believe it's going to be a barn burner because you know what Calvin Kattar brings to the table, and you know that guy has heart for days. He's definitely got a great chin.
Yeah.
You've seen what Zabit was able to do to him on short notice. You've seen Calvin Kattar was in his face the entire time and never backed
Yeah.
down. Dan Ige is the same way. This is one crazy Hawaiian. I cannot wait for this fight. I feel like it's going to be fireworks, and I would not be surprised if it's fight of the night.
I agree with you. I think that I have nothing negative to say about those two fighters. I feel like when it comes to heart, to will, to win, to everything, they're up there. I believe that when it comes to determine they have the goal to become champions, both of them, and they actually one of them may succeed in this division. But yeah, I think that looking at this
This is
fight.
definitely a contender eliminator fight.
Exactly. And I really feel like this will be a war. This may, it's tough to say. I agree with you. This may be a fight of the night. I think it may be even bigger. It may be very a fight that we may never forget. But I'm not sure about, you can't predict this thing.
You cannot predict these things. Anyways, great fights. Give me 3 key matchups that we should be looking out for.
So, I will go with the Jimmy Rivera against Cody Stamann. I think that's an amazing matchup.
Yeah, for sure.
I will go with the first card of the main card, Abdul Razak Al Hassan against Munir Al Aziz. I think that's an interesting matchup since the layoff, and you know. But for the third fight, what I would go maybe with uh, the co-main event of the early prelims, Ricardo Lamas against Leron Murphy.
See, I was going to point out that same Ricardo Lamas fight. I'll go a different direction, though, even though you went that. Chris Fishgold versus Jared Gordon could also be fight of the night. Those two gentlemen definitely bring it. Definitely watch that one. One that jumps off the page to me, obviously, you cannot look for a greater fight than the main event. Calvin Kattar, Dan Ige. Those two gentlemen are going to put on a clinic. And I'm very interested to see what Molly McCann can do against Taliana Santos. I know Taliana Santos is only her second fight in the UFC. Molly McCann's been here for a minute now. Is she able to take that veteran experience and everything that she's learned in her time in the octagon and capitalize on it and really show that she is somebody in this women's flyweight division that is here to stay? It'll be an interesting fight.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%.
Who wins the main event?
Ooh, you know what? I would go with Dan Ige, but I can't tell you how. Maybe by decision. I hope it goes to decision because I think the longer the fight goes, the better because it will not be a boring fight.
See, my heart says Ige, but my brain keeps yelling at me, Calvin Kattar, shut the fuck up.
So maybe. So who do you pick?
I'm going to go with Ige.
Okay.
Never trust your heart, though. It's probably Kattar. Fuck it.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, that about wraps it up. Anything else, Waleed?
Well, it's very nice that we're having fight night after fight night after fight night,
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
yeah.
This is great. Another Wednesday card. Obviously, guys, Wednesday cards aren't the usual. Both of these portions are going to be on ESPN. So obviously, just stay tuned to ESPN. You'll be able to watch the entire card. There is no ESPN Plus. There is no Fight Pass. It's fairly simple. The fight on the West Coast starts at 4 p.m. and then the main card starts at 7. Obviously, same times almost for the pay-per-views. So I don't know how that is out there in Wally. What is that in France? Like 2 o'clock in the fucking morning?
Yeah, something like that. Like, listen, right now in France it's 9:30 a.m. I haven't slept. I've been watching the card. I feel like I'm dying inside, but it's all good.
This is what we do for you guys. So if you
Yeah.
guys have stuck around this long and you've actually listened to this entire show, we fucking appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. And we wouldn't have this show without you guys. Meanwhile, we were just laughing. We have 4 fans from Afghanistan. So you 4 Afghanistan motherfuckers are great. We love you guys. Obviously, the rest of our fans, you guys are great too. We love you guys too. Just keep this train going. Wally Wall and I are going to try to do this again Wednesday night or Thursday, during the day. We have a great card on Sunday coming up, headlined by a possible title fight, Davison Figueiredo against Joseph Benavidez. We don't know. It's all up in the air right now. Benavidez obviously is on a plane. He's already headed to Abu Dhabi if he's not already there already. Davison Figueiredo, though, on the other hand, has not left yet. He had a positive coronavirus test, but they're saying it was a false positive, so they're trying to retest him to see what it comes out again. Obviously, if it comes out as 2 negative tests, I don't know what they do with that flyweight division from there. Do you put a Alejandro Pantoja or Askarov in that title picture?
Well, I'm not sure about that. I think that's with this pandemic, you don't know what's actually who's available. So
Pantoja's available because they're both fighting on this card, Askarov and Pantoja. That's why I just threw those 2 gentlemen on it. Pantoja in his last loss is to Davison Figueiredo by a decision victory. But besides that, he has stopped his last 3 opponents besides Figueiredo.
I don't want them to throw at us a title fight just to throw it. I think that a title fight should be between 2 fighters that actually deserves the title fight. So I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure if I'm actually liking the fact that they are just trying to give us a title fight, or you know what I mean.
Well, Pantoja is technically ranked, I believe, 4 or 5.
Hmm.
So it does make sense ranking rise if there is a last minute opponent change to go with one of those two gentlemen. Yeah, so Pantoja is 4, Figueredo is 1, Benavidez is 2, Askarov is 7.
Okay.
I don't know where Perez is right now or Brandon Moreno, but I know both Pantoja and Askarov are trying to make weight. So if you cannot get Davidson Figueredo over there, I think at this point in time, you need to move along with the division. You have to have a title fight come Saturday night, and it needs to be for whoever's available at this point. You have two gentlemen within the top 5 who are going to be on Abu Dhabi at the same night. Why not give those two gentlemen an opportunity to fight for the gold?
Yeah, I agree with you. And somehow I agree with you. I think that they should keep the train, to keep the thing rolling. But in
Exactly.
another way, I don't want a title fight just to have a title fight. So I'm very mixed up when it
You're
comes to that.
conflicted. It makes
Yeah,
sense. It
exactly.
happens. All right.
Yeah.
All right, guys. That about wraps it up for us. Anything else, Wally? Wall, you all good now?
It's all good. I think that's, like I said, I'm enjoying the fact that we're having fight night one after the other. But yeah, nothing. Everything is good.
No, for sure. Thank you guys for staying tuned to us. It's been great shows. We're gonna be back, obviously, like I said, Wednesday or Thursday. But until then, have fun, knuckleheads.
Peace.